Please let's bring to the microphone. I dare to call him my colleague, but I wonderfully will accept him as my brother. And what he has done and what he's still doing is beyond what we'll know in this gathering. But let him share some experience with us. Welcome with me, former Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, my brother, Labaran Maku. That applause is not good enough. Former Deputy Governor, but humility personified. Bless you all.
Our sister, our mommy, Inyom, and Neni, former ministers, particularly the former Minister of Information, Mrs. Chiroma, our distinguished mothers, distinguished royal fathers, ladies and gentlemen. Our country is a very interesting nation. And I came here purposely because of the team. I want to congratulate Igbo women for bringing us from all over the country today to remind ourselves about our responsibility to Nigeria. One thing I've learned serving Nigeria as a teacher, as a reporter, as a development worker, as a commissioner, as a deputy governor and minister in the federal government, I discovered that Nigerians, particularly the political class, we are mostly not genuine. We are mostly not genuine. One thing I learned in my own public service is that you must take a personal decision to be honest. You must take a personal decision not to steal. You must take a personal decision to hold on to values that no matter the temptation, you will stand by them. If you don't take a personal decision, you will be messed up in the political and public service system in our country. When I was made commissioner in 1999, I had to bend down and tell God, I said, look, in all the service I'm going to render, let no material thing stand between me and you. I had to make that covenant because I know where I'm coming from. I know my background. My parents don't know anybody in Nigeria that can go and ask for even a teaching job. And if God chooses to bring me from there and announce me as one of the leaders in Nigeria, I owe him my personal faithfulness. And that covenant saved me because I've come across several. There is nobody that will serve in our system without so many opportunities for you to do wrong. But because of that faithfulness that I made, that covenant I made with my God, every time I enter public office, I am looking at the last day I'm going to live, that I will not dishonor God. One thing I have not heard here today is that nobody has spoken about the fear of God as a basis for leadership. Nobody has spoken about the fear of God as a basis for honesty, for leadership, and to live a life of example, both personal and at the public level. There are certain things I have seen in my public life experience and in my politics. Inyom, let me say this, you will know. In this country, almost 70 to 80% of those of us who are leaders are in courts. Almost 70 to 80% of those of us who are in leadership are also in courts. The throne of darkness is organized from the national to the local level. And when you say a lot of people not behaving well, you have to look at it both from the point of view of academic examination and spiritual examination. Our country is sitting on so many things. And we need to know that this nation, Nigeria, it will not change until each one of us that had the opportunity to lead makes a personal decision to make a difference. We have a lot of issues. We are still debating our national unity. We are still debating the consensus upon which Nigeria should move. That is what Chijoka was talking. That was what Inyom spoke about. That was what Okorocha spoke about. Yes, every nation is a nation in progress. There is no nation that is already made. Americans are discussing their unity. If you look at the elections that have taken place in the US in the past 16 years, people are talking about their unity. England is still discussing. Please, I will need some silence in the hall. Maybe it will help you to hear something. England that colonized us is still talking about their unity. Scotland wants to go. The rest of Britain said, no, we'll be better together. Spain, an old colonial country, is still talking about their unity. Some regions want to leave. Others are saying we'll be better together. The question of Nigerian unity must be built first on our personal conviction, even as we debate how we are going to live together. Some say that Nigeria is a historical accident. It was not meant to be. My study of history tells me that every nation is a historical accident. There was no nation that didn't come by war, by conquest, and by one family rising and having the capacity to bring others under their tutelage. England was a colony. We first heard about England when Julius Caesar marched into England as the Emperor of Rome. America was a colony of Britain, multiracial, multi-ethnic. Today, America is leading Britain as a superpower. It does not matter how your nation came about. What is most important is the opportunity you bring to raise it through leadership. India was a colony like us, ruled by Britain. They got independence only in 1947, and we came about 13 years after. India has gone to the moon. India is multiracial, multicultural, multireligious, more complicated than Nigeria. But India is going somewhere. America, multiracial, multiethnic, is leading the world. What do we lack? There are many things, but are always been our problem to lack of faith in this nation by the leaders of Nigeria. That is the major thing. Nigerians want to live together. If they can get a leader that they believe in, that will be a father of all, that is interested to ensure justice, ensure fairness in his personal life, in public appointment, by leading by example, this country can quickly unite around a program for the transformation of our country. I want to tell you about the link between leadership and national transformation. It all begins not just with the Constitution, not just with what people believe. It begins with God bringing people who really have a historical mission. There are many countries today that will never be countries now if they didn't have the fortune of certain leaders emerging to rule them. Let us take the United States, for example. The United States will not be the same today if they didn't have the fortune of George Washington, John Adams, William Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Reagan. These leaders always raised their country beyond their interests. George Washington was to be made a king. He said, look, I don't want to be a king. I want America to have a succession of leaders on a democratic platform. And by making that decision, America did not end up as a kingdom, but as a democracy. Now, if you look at the history of China, the China we're celebrating now was not the same China in 1978. In 1978, China was nowhere. As an industrial nation, it was nowhere. As a great power, it was struggling. But they had the fortune of Xi Jinping. After Mao's Cultural Revolution brought them to a level of disorganization. Then Jinping came in, accepted a new vision, reformed their country. And today, between 1978 and now, it's just 44 years. China has become a global economic miracle. From nowhere, it is now number 2 in the world. Now, you can say that of India. You can say that of South Korea. You can say that of Singapore. You can say that of our own Rwanda here. Chijoka spoke about it. I went to Rwanda twice. Rwanda, when in 1994, we were watching on television how people are being slaughtered and killed in Rwanda. We thought that that country would never rise again. But God gave them the fortune of Paul Kagame, who rose above division, who rose above ethnic vision. Today, Rwanda is the one mentioned all over the world, not Nigeria. Because of the fortune of a leader who understood that leadership is a calling to sacrifice. Leadership is a calling to sacrifice. It's not a calling to comfort. It's not a calling for self-aggrandizement. Leadership is a sacrifice. Nigerian leaders are not ready as at now, in my opinion, to make that sacrifice for the country. I want to talk about transformative leadership. Transformation is a qualitative shift in the socio-economic fortunes of a nation, both in terms of the productive forces of society, in terms of the mode and means of production. For example, when we speak about Lee Kuan Yew in a small former British colony called Singapore, he became a leader and decided that he must take Singapore in a new direction. The first thing he did was to create that vision and set standard and set vision and get objectives in different sectors of the economy and social life. And then commit himself as a person to ensure that all the rules and standards he set, he will first enforce them. So that whoever comes in will be able to go in that direction. You can never change a country unless you are ready to live in that change you want to bring. It's not possible. Now look at our country. All who are talking here, we have our values listed in section 23 of the Constitution. If you go there, you will see them. Integrity, honor, service to country, dignity of labor, compassion, unity. They are all listed in section 23 of the Constitution. Look at the national pledge that we recite every day. It talks about patriotism. It talks about serving Nigeria with all our strength, upholding our honor, integrity. It's all there. Look at the old and the new national anthems. If you sing them, you know that everything requiring to what we want to be is in those anthems. Our Constitution, chapter 2, lists all the directive principles and of state policy and what we want to do for Nigeria. The problem is, we only have those things on paper. It's not in our hearts. It's not in our hearts. And so long as you have a country where the leaders do not accept to live by the oath they swear to, you have that problem. Our number one problem in this country is having leaders who are ready to embrace all Nigerians. In this country, the reason why India survived was that India had the fortune of Mahatma Gandhi, of Nehru, and now Modi. If you mention Gandhi, everybody believes in him. The same thing with South Africa. The same thing with America that I mentioned earlier on. The problem of our country is leaders love their religion, not the country. Leaders love their tribe, not the country. Leaders love a section of the country and not the whole of the country. And so long as that is the case, you cannot unite a complicated, a diverse nation like Nigeria. You must move from your tribal, your religious and sectional platform and set yourself as a leader of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then you will be checking. If I make 10 appointments, where are they come? Because inclusive leadership means a deliberate effort by leaders to make sure that no cultural minority, no group, no section is left behind. Because if you want to transform a country, your number one duty is to ensure that you have a system that all talents that are available to that nation will be utilized. So you create a structure, you create a leadership, you create a legal framework that will ensure that every religion, every race, every gender has an opportunity to contribute. That is what Lee Kuan Yew did. That is what China did. If you do not have an inclusive leadership, what it means is that if I'm a leader today and I don't believe in anybody other than my religion, then other people who are better than those I'm appointing, who have the solution, cannot be brought on board. And this is exactly what is happening now. If a leader cannot open up to everybody, sometimes the person that will deliver the nation is not your tribe. Sometimes the person that will deliver the nation is not from your religion. It's not from your section of the country. Inclusive leadership will enable you to have access to all the talents that are available in your nation to recruit them for development. When I was Minister of Information, why did I succeed? First, I made sure that all my staff came from all over Nigeria. All over. They came from all over Nigeria. Make sure I brought a team that is national. So that a team of professionals from the east, from the south, and from all religions. So that as a Minister of Information, if I'm going to speak, I am likely not to make a mistake by saying something that will tell the unity of the country. Because I have access to every sensitivity that makes up Nigeria. Now the problem we're having is we are no longer sensitive to our diversity. Because we simply look at one direction and we refuse to look around to be able to recruit the talents that can give our country a push forward. Inyom will know, when we were in cabinet, you can see the number of ministers that are women that were on board. And let me tell you, whatever you may say about it, without Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as our Minister of Finance at that time, our fortunes would have gone down before now. But by the time we left in 2015, the economy of Nigeria was number one by GDP in Africa. It takes talent to create it. It takes brains. It takes heart. It takes capacity. You cannot run a country in trouble like Nigeria and you close your mind to other people. It will not work. And I think this is simply a question of leadership. Now I want to come to the major issue why I'm here. Corruption. 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 Mismanagement of resources. Stealing in public office. This has been the story of Nigeria. His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, spoke about it. And let me say this here. My own knowledge of Nigerian public system as a commissioner from the state, deputy governor, on to minister in the federal cabinet. All the laws to tackle corruption in Nigeria on ground. Everything you need to stop corruption in Nigeria is on ground. The security agencies, the laws forbidding every sleaze are on ground. We don't need preachment about it. We simply need action if our political system believes we can end this crisis. And let me tell you this. Nations collapse because of leadership myopia, not because the people don't want to live together. The only thing that can lead us to succeed is that we, the political class in Nigeria, believe that we can end the shame our country is going through. You go out of this country, when you mention Nigeria, they mention Haiti. It is like black people cannot run a country. It's like Africans cannot run a civilization. It has not always been this. We had Egypt, we had Ethiopia, we had Great Ghana. When the Portuguese came to Nigeria to the Battle of Benin in 1472, they wrote that Benin was better organized than the streets of Europe. It is in their writing that Benin Empire was better organized. There was street light, there were street lamps in the night to give street lights. So today we are made to look as if we Africans cannot organize a nation. We cannot rule a nation. When you mention Nigeria, you mention Haiti, you mention most of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa. You see if there is a cause, but there is no cause. I know that we can transform this nation as it is now into a major power in 20 to 30 years if our political leaders are willing. All you need is the sacrifice. All you need is, for example, let me say this. When it comes to corruption, for example, there is nobody that steals a kobo. Some of my colleague ministers are here, and I want them to contradict what I'm going to say now, including members of the National Assembly. Nobody steals any money in the public service and is not recorded. I hope you know this. Any corruption in the public service, the security agencies record them. Because among your services, including your directors, some of them also in the security service, their duty in that ministry is to record every financial management in the ministry. People know it. All the people that steal money in this country, the system knows them. The system knows them. They are all documented. There is no corruption. You can't take any money in the federal or state service without it being documented. What now happens is, after people steal money, the political system is not interested in allowing the system to prosecute those who are fishing from the pond of the whole country. If you want to stop corruption in Nigeria today, and the political leaders are ready, from the president down to governors, down to local government chairmen, down to all of us who are stakeholders, and we come together and say, look, we are tired of this shame. What has corruption done to us? Corruption is a collaboration between a few people and foreigners who are taking the wealth of Nigeria out, taking the wealth of Africa out. And I had a personal revelation that the problem of Africa is bribe taking by leaders. I had that revelation in 2014. Now let me tell you, if you want to stop corruption in Nigeria today, all it takes is for the political leaders today, if they want it, we'll all sit down in a summit. We are tired of this. And what do you need to do? If I'm a governor, all I need to do is to say, look, from today, SSS, police, all the securities, they're all in the ministries. They're all there. Anybody that steals a kobo, please charge the person and investigate. If you do this in a sitting government, by the time a director is picked up, by the time a minister is picked up, by the time a permanent secretary is picked up, by the time a special advisor is picked up from his office to investigation, because the political leader is not interested in doing this anymore. If we do this consistently for 1 year, I am telling you, Nigerians will rise and support and give glory to God and support that government. It is not true that we do not want good leaders. It is the lack of political. What happened in Nigeria is that if somebody is corrupt, they keep the file. If you misbehave, then they will call you. But so long as you are part of the system and you are doing well, there's no problem. It's only on that day that you want to misbehave or take an action, then they remember that you are corrupt. Please let us take this thing seriously. I want to call on our women, the Igbo women. Because unless, look, Roman Empire collapsed because of corruption. If you read the book, The Discourses on Ancient Rome by Niccolo Machiavelli, you will see it there. Soviet Union was brought down with all the nuclear powers that they harmed they had. There was corruption and decay within. It came down on their faces. There is no nation in the world. Every nation is a living social organism. Unless you take the issues of values and you cannot enforce values on the political leaders already. That's the problem. If you have political leaders of Nigeria already now, we don't want to see corruption in our country in the next 5 years. I am telling you to reduce to minimum. But we have to take that decision. I am calling on Igbo women, the women from all over the country. Let us learn to hold our government to account. Changing the constitution is important. Changing the national anthem is important. Bringing all new policies are important. But the problem of Nigeria is that we all know the answer. What is required in Nigeria today is the person who can enforce the solution. There is nothing we are discussing here today that I have not heard for the past 20 years. Nothing. Only that we are saying it in new language. We are saying with new faces. I was one day, when I was a commissioner, one man came for a conference. He said, look, I want to sleep. I didn't sleep yesterday. But if you hear something I didn't hear before, wake me up. Because the truth of the matter is, I am ashamed. Every conference you go, the same issues. The same statements. Faces may change, but the issues remain the same. What we need is practical action. What we need is practical action by all leaders at all levels. Let us resolve. If you know, look, if the British knew that Nigeria would be united, maybe we would not have been here. The greatest nation in Africa after Egypt is Nigeria. This country is the greatest gift to black people in the world. Look at all that we have. Look at the beauty of the country. Look at the resources of the country. Look at the talent that is available in Nigeria. You just need a leader to mix them. A leader like Lee Kuan Yew, thank you. A leader like Lee Kuan Yew, a leader of vision like the Chinese leaders that raised their country. If you give Nigeria the right set of leaders, the right set of commitment who are ready to say, look, enough is enough. What does a governor need to steal money? Why does a governor need to steal money? Well, you don't need to steal money. You have allowances that will be paid to you after you leave office, and they do it and pay themselves. But people are not ready to stop. And I will conclude by saying this. I don't know about all that, but I'm telling you my own mind and my experience. If I didn't take a personal decision not to be corrupt, nothing will stop me from stealing public money. Because the opportunities are always there in the system. Especially when laws are not enforced. I had an experience as a minister. A company brought a proposal to me to take money, a loan, for work in the information sector. They brought a bill of $1.2 billion for Nigeria to take a loan. Unknown to them, I quietly called a German firm, Pricewater, that audit firm. I handed over the file to them. When they audited it and brought it back to me, the money came down to 500 million from 1.2 billion. And I called them. I say, you are the leaders of this company. Please explain this budget you brought for Nigeria to take this loan. And I brought the report of the audit and placed before them. They were shaking. And you see, and we have some interest. I say I'm the Minister of Information. I'm the one here contracting you. If there are interests in the system, they should come through me. I'm the minister. I'm the government officer in charge here. Now, when they do that, they suggest to you, you know, we can put one of these 100 million in your account abroad. And that is how this country is crippled. I was in a conference in Belgium in 1985. The Prime Minister of Belgium, the Prime Minister of Netherlands, they were speaking. They said, Africa, a corruption, ethnicity. I dropped the paper I was to present. I was together with Late John Garang and other leaders of the continent. I said, look, I'm a young Nigerian. I'm trying to grow up as a leader. And we don't need corruption in Africa. But give me, please, a break. Corruption in Africa is a coalition between African leaders and foreign companies who impose bad leaders and take our resources. I said that the transatlantic slave trade has been replaced by what I call the transatlantic corruption triangle. When I started speaking, the whole of African delegation came to me. Look, it is not that we lack what to do. The most important in this country, leadership is not appreciated. Our people are confused. They lack razzmatazz. They lack people who come to tell lies. But what they do, what we know about most people is different from what they say in these conferences. But we keep quiet. We need to come together to insist that our country cannot go on like this. Because the way we are going, let me tell you, with all the crises around us, the whole of the North, violence, Southeast is joining. And let me tell you, unless the political leadership of Nigeria responds positively and quickly to the real problems that are confronting our youth and our people, this country can quickly go wrong. Not because Nigeria is bad, not because they don't believe in Nigeria, but because the pressure on the people is getting very high. And I think we as leaders, we must come together. We must work together, not only in government. We can do a lot of things when we're out of government. And I've always supported these causes. The former Minister of Women Affairs was here. I was the one that funded the 1998 conference to create a new agenda for women in Nigeria. We have always known that unless you include women in the process of national development, no nation can actually move forward. Benny is here. One day I was deputy governor, she came to Lafia. I said, Benny, your dad is a big name in the whole of Nigeria and the Middle Belt. What are you doing? She said, well, you see, these women, they don't use. I said, please go and join politics. She went and joined politics. Today she has been a national name. She has done very well in the House of Representatives. I made sure I brought a woman to the Senate and House of Reps from Nasarawa State. It is what people do, not what they say. And in this country, what we say has taken over what we do. And that is not good enough. Let us come together to save our country. But to be a good person is a personal decision. If you do not trust God in this country's service, you will not be a good person. Because the opportunity to be bad are calling on you, beckoning everywhere. And I believe one day, from what I have seen, this country will be delivered. The details I do not know. But God will bring somebody from nowhere and Nigeria will move to the place we want to go. The Lord bless us for our attention.
In the heart of the city where stories unfold, Njenje Media TV shining bright and bold, bringing news from the corners of the globe, connects us together no matter the road.